2M dengan moto Innovation for Bright Future. Gedung Lembaga Penelitian dan Pengabdian kepada Masyarakat atau LP2M Universitas Negeri Semarang ini memiliki 5 pusat, 2 gugus, dan tim pengelola jurnal LP2M, yakni 1. Pusat Pengembangan Kuliah Kerja Nyata, Gedung Lembaga Penelitian dan yang kedua, Pusat Pelayanan Publikasi dan Kekayaan Intelektual. Yang ketiga ada Pusat Layanan Sains dan Teknologi. Yang keempat ada Pusat Pengabdian dan Pemberdayaan Masyarakat, Lingkungan Hidup, Gender, dan Anak. Yang kelima ada Pusat Layanan Sertifikasi Penelitian dan Pengabdian. Sedangkan untuk gugus yaitu ada Gugus Penjaminan Mutu dan Gugus Pengelola Inkubator Unit Bisnis. Lalu yang selanjutnya yaitu adalah Pengelola Jurnal LP2M. Dari gedung LP2M kita beralih ke gedung LP3. Gedung LP3 atau Lembaga Pengembangan Pendidikan dan Profesi Universitas Negeri Semarang ini merupakan Center of Excellence bagi pendidikan di Jawa Tengah, yaitu sebagai pusat informasi dan pusat bertanya bagi pendidikan di Jawa Tengah, serta penyelenggaraan pelatihan pendidikan seperti PKB.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Prof. Guo. Okay. Are you ready? I cannot hear you. You can use unmute.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have a special guest lecture. Here is Professor Jiahua Kuo, FRCSM, CTSSN. He is from University of Taipei, and he is the excellent professor and the high ranking of Scopus High Index is 30 high index, and he have a 245 document, and the citation already 3,722. Wow, it's very much. And today we will study together with him, and before he's present about exercise and carbohydrate metabolism, will be have special welcome speech from Dr. Setia Rahayu. Dr. Setia Rahayu, the time is yours.
Hi, Dr. Setia.
Hey,
Good to see you again.
Yeah, Prof. Kuo. You can. Okay, thank you, Bu Titin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Selamat siang. I am Setia Rahayu, Head of Master Study Program Sport Education Graduate University, Universitas Negeri Semarang. Say welcome and thank you for all of you joining in this virtual webinar. This webinar, Sports Physiology, with topic about exercise and carbohydrate metabolism by Prof. Jiahua Kuo. He is expert of sport physiology from University of Taipei, Taiwan. Especially to Prof. Kuo, Thank you very much for the sharing knowledge to us, especially for student University of Semarang, Universitas Negeri Semarang. Thank you, Bu Titin, as moderator and contact person for this event. And okay, ladies and gentlemen, have a nice and enjoy the webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay.
Okay. Now the primary guest lecture. As you know, this is maybe 4 times for guest lecture in Semarang State University, correct? And
Yes.
yeah, and maybe next time Prof. Kuo will come to Semarang.
Yes, I will.
Okay, and Prof. Kuo, here in the webinar, not only in Magister of Physical Education from Sport Science of UNES, also from other university. They have from Undip, UNESA, UNJ, UPI, and also the Association of Exercise Physiology in Indonesia. And all of this you get from one record from Dr. Ermita Ilyas. She is the chief of Indonesian Exercise Physiology, also from Professor Dr. Tandio Rahayu.
Okay. Where's Tandio?
I hope she's in here right now, but
No problem. Send my greeting
told
to
me just
Tandio.
to say one breakup to you.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, now the time is yours.
Okay. Where's Ali?
Ali.
He's gone.
Yeah, she's maybe
about
she's
Siti
busy.
Baidu?
Yeah, he's busy.
Siti Baidu?
Siti Baidu have in here.
I'm here.
Hey, Siti.
Yeah.
Good to
Thank
see
you,
you
Prof.
again.
Kuo. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I heard that you already associate professor.
Yes. Siti Baidu, right? Yes.
Yes. For your
Yes,
wishes, thank you.
Okay, good to see you again.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen.
You can share
Okay.
by yourself.
Yes, share. Okay, can you see that well?
Yes, very well.
Okay, good. Okay, I would like to thank the invitation by Titin and also the UNIS Department of Physical Education. And today I'm going to talk about the topic regarding exercise and carbohydrate metabolism that I have conducted research in this area for a long time. Okay, the first I would like to show you the importance of the subject, and also because the audience here are mostly participating in exercise, so I believe most of the people care about endurance performance. So this is the study that has been published for a long time. As you can see, it's 1995, and it's a large-scale study conducted for almost 10,000 men. You see, 9,777 men. And those people, they get into clinics and they have their endurance measured by the clinics twice, 5 years apart. Okay, and this is the data of the all-cause mortality. Okay, and you can see that all these 9,000 people has been classified into 3 groups. The light bar right here represent they fit at both examination in the clinics. Okay, and you see the black bar is the individual always have the poor endurance performance, and in the middle one is fit at the first time, unfit at the first examination, and fit at the second examination. So as you can see here, this is the all-cause death rate in exponential scale. Okay, you want to keep in mind this is exponential scale. Okay, and therefore the difference is actually amplified. Okay, so from here you can see this is all different age group, from age 20 to age 39, and the highest age is age above 60. And they show the same thing. If you are a person that has the high endurance performance, then you have the lowest mortality rate. So for in this case, it's 199 deaths. And this is normalized by the population, okay? But if you look at the people who are unfit at both examination, the mortality rate is 825, okay? So as you can see this is many times, this is almost 4 times difference in mortality rate. So this study is the first to tell us that the endurance performance is a predictor for your survival, regardless what age you are. Okay, so what is the major difference between the people who has the endurance performance and who has low endurance performance? Okay, so this is the next graph. So let me just give you this evidence, and then you will see the glycogen is probably the most important things to explain the endurance performance. Okay, from here you can see at 3 different exercise intensity, 25% VO2 max. This is like walking, and you have 65% VO2 max. This is the exercise and moderate intensity. And you also have the 85% VO2 max. This is high intensity endurance exercise. And you see all these different color represent the energy consumption from 4 different sources. Okay, and as you can see here, if you increase the exercise intensity from the left to the right, the total energy consumption increased about 3 times. Okay, and the major increase is the muscle glycogen. Okay, so you see here, the reason I increase my energy consumption at high intensity exercise is contributed mainly by muscle glycogen. Okay, so from here you can see the muscle glycogen is the fuel for high intensity exercise. How about walking? If you look at walking, does not consume muscle glycogen. Okay, so this graph gives us very important knowledge that if you are competing for high intensity endurance performance, you go for competition, muscle glycogen is the main fuel stored in your body that support this kind of exercise. Okay, and this is another paper that has been published long time ago in 1972. So I'm just giving you the conclusion about the Bergstrom. The Bergstrom, by the way, he is the scientist that discovered that the muscle glycogen is the most important fuel for endurance exercise. So this is what he has mentioned in the paper. In considering the nutrition for maximal sports performance, only carbohydrate store are relevant to energy expenditure. Okay, so we talk about endurance performance is the predictor for your longevity. And from here, you can already see that whether or not you can store glycogen that is related to your mortality as well. Okay, so if you want to survive well, if you want to have the high endurance performance, you need to have a very good capability to store the carbohydrate into your muscle glycogen. Okay, and here is the data which has been published in 1967, also by Bergstrom. Okay, and this data is giving us the idea that diet can directly alter your muscle glycogen storage. So from here, you can see 3 different diets. One is mixed diet. Mixed diet is the normal diet that the participant used to consume. And you have the high protein diet, which has very low carbohydrate, high protein and high fat. That is the cross. And you have the cross sign here is the high carbohydrate diet. This high carbohydrate diet is 90% of the energy you consume come from carbohydrate. Okay, so as you can see, which one gives you the highest muscle glycogen? You see the cross here, cross here, cross here, here, right? So that gives us the idea. If you want to have the high glycogen storage, then you need to eat high carbohydrate. Okay, and the high protein, high fat diet give you the lowest muscle glycogen. Okay, and this is the cycling time to exhaustion. Okay, so those people who has different muscle glycogen, if you put them on the cycloergometer, they riding bicycle, and this is the time they can sustain. Okay, so from here you can also see a very good relationship between the muscle glycogen before exercise and their exercise time. So this is the first study which demonstrates that the muscle glycogen is the major determinant of endurance performance. Okay, so what is the muscle glycogen? Okay, you know the muscle glycogen is made by glucose. So if you have the class in nutrition, then you know muscle glycogen is made by glucose. So this is the picture for human muscle under electron microscopy. And you can see it here. This is the myofiber, and you can see the mitochondria here, and you can see the small black granule-like particle here, and these are the glycogen granule. Okay, and it looks like this. Okay, and you see this small black particle here is the glucose. Okay, so you can see the glucose are polymerized in 1,6 and 1,4 glycosidic linkage into a big glycogen. So the glycogen is actually like the starch that when you eat rice and bread, and that is contain a lot of glucose, and that is made very similarly with the glycogen. So we also call the muscle glycogen as the animal starch. Okay, and you already know that when you do exercise, the muscle glycogen will reduce, right? So look at here. This is the muscle glycogen content. Okay, So after exercise, this is the rest, and this is post-exercise, and you can see the muscle glycogen decrease from 140 down to about 50, right? So you see the glycogen depletion. And when you consume different diet, you consume glucose and sucrose, and you see which one give you the best glycogen return. It's quite clear, right? The black dot is the glucose. The glucose has the fast return in 60 minutes. And if you consume sucrose, right? I know in Indonesia has a lot of cane sugar, and that is sucrose. So if you just drink cane sugar, the glycogen recovery are relatively slower compared with glucose. Okay, where is the glucose mainly come from? Starch, right? So from here, you already know that glucose is better than cane sugar for post-exercise glycogen recovery. Okay, so if you study nutrition, you also classify carbohydrate into the complex carbohydrate and simple sugar. Okay, complex carbohydrate doesn't have the sweet flavor, right? But simple sugar give you very delicious taste because of the sweet flavor. Okay, so people are favor sugar than the complex carbohydrate. But here is the data which show you that after exercise, if you want to replenish your muscle glycogen, then the complex carbohydrate, which is the solid dot here, give you better recovery in 48 hours compared with the simple carbohydrate diet. Okay, so now we will answer the question that what kind of the carbohydrate is the best for muscle glycogen recovery after exercise? The answer is quite clear. Is the carbohydrate made by glucose, and that is starch. Okay. Okay. The next question is, okay, now we know the starch is the best. Okay. The next question is, after exercise, you want to give the carbohydrate meal. You want to split the meal or you want to combine the meal. So here is the meal, the carbohydrate meal, 70%, 70%. And you can see the 70% are split into 7 meals. And this is also the 70%, but split only into 2 meals. Okay. And then after recovery, you can see this is the change of the muscle glycogen. And you can see that the 2 meal and 7 meal at the same calorie doesn't make any significant difference. And if you look at the mean, the 2 meal even give you higher muscle glycogen recovery. So this gives us the idea that you don't actually need to split your meal. You just take regular meal, but high carbohydrate. 70% of the energy come from carbohydrate is the best for your muscle glycogen recovery after exercise. Okay. So now you know that the carbohydrate is something that you want to consume after exercise. And here, I would also like to give you the idea that there are many athletes, they also concerned the muscle protein loss. Okay, so I'm also show you the data that the carbohydrate supplementation also prevents exercise-induced muscle loss. And this is the study design. Okay, so you have a group of the subject, they exercise and 75% VO2 max. So their muscle glycogen are depleted after exercise. Then you provide two choices. You have the high carbohydrate meal and low carbohydrate, high protein meal for the recovery. Okay, so look at this high carbohydrate is 6,837 calories, and the low carbohydrate are similar calorie. But if you look at the protein content, you see the low carbohydrate diet has 25% of the protein, and the high carbohydrate only have the 10% of the protein. Okay, then you ask the question, which one give you the best protein balance? The protein balance is measured by the gain of the protein and loss of the protein. What they use is the amino acid. They pick up the leucine as the amino acid. Okay, and what they have seen is the protein balance during exercise and 1 hour post-exercise. And this is what you see. Okay, the protein balance, what they show is leucine. Okay, so if you look at the rest fasting condition, you have the protein loss, right? So if you don't have meal, then you have the protein loss. And during exercise, you also have the protein loss. But which one has the highest protein loss, black or white? High carbohydrate or low carbohydrate? And you can see that the high carbohydrate group, even they have only 10% of the protein, has less leucine loss. And the low carbohydrate, even they have 25% of the protein, 2.5 fold of the protein intake than this group. It still have the protein loss. Okay, and this is the during recovery is similar. So this gives us the idea that if you have the high carbohydrate, even you are consuming lower protein in your diet, you still have less protein loss during and after exercise. Okay, so just giving protein is not enough for keep your protein in the muscle. Okay, the reason is very simple. Is the low carbohydrate diet induce relatively less insulin release. Okay, so from here you can see that this is insulin, right? The high carbohydrate give you higher level of insulin, and the low carbohydrate give you lower insulin, right? And insulin is the signal to tell your muscle, to inform your muscle to uptake the amino acid to synthesize protein. So if you don't have insulin, then even you have the protein, your muscle will not uptake amino acid and you will not synthesize protein. Okay, so what is the insulin action here? Okay, so now you know the protein diet is not the most important, it's the insulin is the most important. Okay, this is the insulin action. We all know that if you inject insulin into your body, the glucose is lower, and those glucose becoming the glycogen. So when you inject insulin into your body, you see the glucose decrease. That is because the glucose becoming insulin in the skeletal muscle. Okay. And not only that, the insulin will stimulate the amino acid transport in the muscle and the protein synthesis. It will also stimulate the fatty acid transport and the triglyceride synthesis. And as you know, the insulin will stimulate the cell proliferation. And the cell proliferation require nucleic acid synthesis and the DNA synthesis. So that means if you don't have the insulin, you cannot grow cell in your body. So you have the cell death, but you cannot repopulate the cell in your body. And the insulin is also important for the water retention. Okay, so if you want to keep the water inside your body, you need insulin as well. And all this together, you understand the insulin is the main anabolic hormone that tells your body to uptake the fuel and reconstruct your body, right? And therefore, you are going to have to decrease the inflammation. On the other hand, if you don't have enough insulin, the inflammation level would get elevated. Okay, so now we know the carbohydrate diet is important for glycogen synthesis, and that is because of the insulin. Carbohydrate increase blood glucose, and glucose will stimulate insulin release. And the insulin will stimulate the muscle glycogen storage and muscle protein synthesis. Okay, and now we are asking another question. Now we know that after exercise, you need to have the high carbohydrate diet. And would you like to add a little bit protein or not? And this is the study design that gives you the answer. That if you take the high carbohydrate diet, and if you take slightly a little bit more protein. Okay, so this is the study design. 2 beverages after 45 minutes of muscle glycogen depleting exercise. Okay, so after exercise, the muscle glycogen is consumed. And then I start to give 2 different beverages. And one is purely carbohydrate drink. And another one is the high carbohydrate drink with small amount of the protein, right? The milk protein, not milk. This is misspelled, okay? So this is high carbohydrate and a little bit small amount of the protein, but the carbohydrate content is lower than the high carbohydrate protein, okay? And this is the outcome. You see the high carbohydrate protein plus high carbohydrate plus protein give you 21% improvement in endurance performance 3 hours after recovery. And this is very important knowledge for Olympians, because when you have the competition, you need to advance from preliminary, semifinal, and the final competition. So you have a limited time for recovery. So if you only have the 3 hours for recovery, then you want to add a little bit protein into your high carbohydrate diet to accelerate your fatigue recovery. And this is the insulin data. You see, if you add a little bit milk protein into the high carbohydrate drink, you are going to induce fast insulin release. And that is the reason why you can reconstruct your body at very fast pace. Okay, this is the mechanism of the muscle glycogen recovery. Okay, and this is very important for understand why diabetes patients need to exercise. Okay, as you can see, this is the cell, this is the muscle cell, and you have the protein, you have the glucose outside the cell. Okay, so this is the blood glucose. Okay, and you all know that diabetes is featured by high blood glucose in the blood, right? So when you have the insulin stimulation, the insulin is going to stimulate this protein. It's called glucoprotein. And this glucose is going to have the glucose translocation to the plasma membrane. So you see a lot of red protein here, and this protein will facilitate the glucose transport across the plasma membrane. And therefore, the glucose concentration in the blood get lowered. But inside the muscle, you get muscle glycogen synthesis increases. Okay, so you want to see the glucose reduced after meal as fast as possible, because those glucose is going to synthesize into muscle glycogen. So when you have the high glycogen recovery, you have better endurance performance, and you can also have better glycemic control. Okay, so you are far away from diabetes. Okay, and this is the post-exercise muscle glycogen recovery. Okay, and this is 2 persons. Okay, you see JB is the Jonas Bergstrom. He has conducted muscle biopsy for himself, and this is his colleague also conduct muscle biopsy here. And as you can see, so he exercised in one leg, and another leg served as control. Okay, so you can see that the exercise leg has reduced muscle glycogen, and the non-exercise leg has the muscle glycogen relatively higher, right? And 1 day after exercise, you see the muscle glycogen in the exercise leg replenish back to the non-exercise before pre-exercise level, right? And more interestingly, you see the muscle glycogen get higher and higher in 72 hours later, only in the leg that has exercise. So the non-exercise leg does not have significant increase in the muscle glycogen. And these 2 persons show the same thing, right? So if you, and this has very important implication for diabetes patient as well. We know we encourage the diabetes patient to exercise. And one of the reasons is because your skeletal muscle is going to store more muscle glycogen. You have a higher space to store the glucose come from the blood, right? So if you exercise, the muscle glycogen becoming lower, and you have 72 hours to increase the capability of the muscle to store the glucose, right? And that is good news for the diabetes patient, because diabetes patients want to get their glucose lower and get into the muscle for the glycogen storage. So that would lower blood glucose and also increase your endurance performance, right? But from here, you know that this benefit only occur in the muscle that has been exercised. For non-exercise leg, you don't have such kind of benefit, right? So this is very important for the sports instructor. Then if I ask you the question, what kind of exercise is the best for diabetes patient? Then you want to know that you want to go for the exercise that can recruit the muscle for the entire body, because that is the only way to get the muscle glycogen depletion for all muscle in your body, right? So if you just exercise one leg, then the benefit only localized to the single leg. Okay, and here is another important knowledge, which show you that the muscle glycogen depletion only occurs high intensity exercise. Okay, if you look at here, these are the different lines. Okay, you see the muscle glycogen depletion. And if you exercise at high intensity, this is 150% VO2 max, you have very fast glycogen depletion. Okay, if you go for 120% VO2 max, then you can also have the high glycogen depletion, but it will take 10 minutes, right? But if you want to go for, let's say 4 hours and 50% VO2 max, then the muscle glycogen depletion are very slow, okay? So it needs to take 4 hours to lower your muscle glycogen. So that is very inconvenient for most of the people if they want to deplete their muscle glycogen. So if you really want to have the effective muscle glycogen depletion to get the later glycogen supercompensation, you want to go for high intensity exercise. Jogging is not very helpful. Okay, and this is the mechanism for post-exercise muscle glycogen. And actually, this is the paper I published in 1998. Okay, and one of the reasons is because exercise can increase the glucoprotein expression. So the glucose gene are sensitive to exercise, not only for the glucose, but also the hexokinase. This enzyme is also important for glycogen synthesis and the glucose uptake. So both genes is increasing their expression after exercise. Okay, and this is the glucoprotein post-exercise. And you can see that acute protein induced the glucoprotein expression in 16 hours. Okay, now I'm going to talk about, because the carbohydrate metabolism is also important for the type 2 diabetes patient. And as you already know that the type 2 diabetes patient get more and more in the country that start to have the obesity. And you know that every country, when they have the better economy, and those better economy is going to transform into the nutrition problem. So as you can see that Indonesia has 7% of the GDP growth almost every year. So the Indonesian get richer and richer. But the problem is the Indonesia, almost the same thing compared with the United States. The people get relatively greater prevalence of obese individual. And the type 2 diabetes patients is actually reflecting better nutrition in the country. Okay. And here I would like to show you that the muscle is very important for type 2 diabetes patient. Okay, if you look at here, under fasting condition, the glucose is going to be uptake by the brain, okay? But after meal, when you have the meal that is entering the insulin stimulated condition, then you see 85% of the muscle will uptake the glucose after meal. Okay, so then you ask the question, if I have the meal, my glucose is going up, right? And when my glucose is going up, my body is going to have the insulin release. And the insulin is going to stimulate the glucose uptake. And the muscle will take the instruction of the insulin, start to uptake the glucose. And therefore, your blood glucose is going to be lowered, okay? So the muscle is the major target organ for insulin sensitivity of obese and type 2 diabetes patients. So you want to get muscle, greater insulin sensitivity, okay? And here is the data that show you the frequency of the vigorous physical activity effect on the insulin sensitivity. So from here, you can see quite obvious. And the low frequency vigorous exercise activity compared with the high frequency exercise activity, the insulin sensitivity is almost doubled. The frequency means how many times of exercise per week, okay? So if you have the 5 times a week, the insulin sensitivity is about 2 times compared with the one that has never exercised. How about non-vigorous exercise? Then you see the effect on improving insulin sensitivity is very small. So from here, you understand that exercise is very important way to stimulate your muscle insulin sensitivity. But the non-vigorous exercise is not going to be the option to improve your insulin sensitivity of your body, particularly for exercise muscle. Okay, so now you know aerobic training can improve your insulin sensitivity. Okay, but this data is going to show you that that is only valid for young age. Okay, from here you can see this is the percent improvement in insulin sensitivity by aerobic exercise. What kind of aerobic exercise? 70 to 80% heart rate for 16 weeks, 40 minutes per day, 3 days a week. Okay, and you can see above the red line means improvement, and below the red line, this is not improved, but deteriorated. Okay, so from here, if I ask the question, does aerobic training improve your insulin sensitivity? The answer is what? Is yes, if you are younger than age below 40. If your age is more than 60, then you do not have the improvement. But don't worry, if you do strength training here, endurance training, no improvement in the muscle glucose and insulin. But if you do strength training, then you get improvement all the way to the end in glucose, insulin, HbA1c, cholesterol, blood pressure. Okay, so if you are age above 50, don't worry, you do strength training will be better than endurance training. So strength training is better than aerobic exercise. How about walking? This data show you walking 30 minutes per day cannot change blood glucose. Okay. Okay, now we know that you want to get high carbohydrate diet. How about protein? Okay, and this is the data that show you, this is the animal study, give you 10 different diet and with different protein to carbohydrate ratio. So at the beginning, you have 100% survival, right? So as the animal get older and older, the animals start to die, right? And you can see which one are dying early. You see the pink and purple line are the animal die faster, right? And the pink and purple are relatively higher protein to carbohydrate ratio. Okay, so this gives us the idea that if you have the high protein, low carbohydrate in your diet, then you are going to age faster, right? So if you look at the yellow and the orange color, you see those both lines are the low protein to carbohydrate ratio. That means if you have a high carbohydrate and only less than 10% of the protein in your diet, then you are aging slower compared with the high protein to carbohydrate ratio. Okay, that is animal study, and this is the human study, which show very similar things. If you are the human age below 65, this is low protein, means the protein lower than 10% of the total energy. Compared with the moderate protein, the protein occupies 10 to 20% of the energy. And this is the high protein, the protein 20% of the total energy. And this is the all-cause mortality rate is the highest in the high protein group and is the lowest in the low protein group. So if you really want to have slower aging, then you want to go for the protein lower than 10%. If you have the high protein, then you are growing faster and faster, and it also causes relatively higher aging rate. Okay, we have mentioned that in strength training is better for improving your muscle insulin sensitivity. And this is the data that show you this is what happened during and after resistant exercise. So from here, you can see exercise causes the muscle damage. And you get a lot of the cell get into the skeletal muscle. So you get higher muscle cell infiltration, right? And this is the sign of the muscle inflammation. If you have the high protein, then the inflammation is lower, right? So after exercise, if you want to have the lower inflammation in the muscle, then you want to have the high protein. And this is the same thing. If you have the low protein, the macrophage infiltration in the muscle is relatively higher. So you want to go for high protein after exercise. And one of the reasons is because exercise is going to kill a lot of cells in your muscle. Okay, so when you have the cell death in your muscle, you need to have the protein to repopulate the cell in your body. If you don't do that, then the muscle inflammation is going to be prolonged. Okay, but the advantage of the muscle inflammation is the senescent cell number will lower. Okay, so post-exercise, you get lower muscle senescent cell. So exercise will kill the unfit cell in your muscle. Okay, and if you have the low protein, then the senescent cell get lower because you have a higher inflammation, right? Is that good? You don't feel well because when you have the muscle inflammation, you feel pain and you feel fatigue, which is not good. Although you have the relatively lower senescent cell. Okay, now let's go for the take-home message. This is the dietary recommendation for the individual with exercise habit. Okay, the goal of this is for the better exercise performance as well as the better longevity. Okay, the first recommendation, carbohydrate diet is associated with greater level of muscle glycogen storage, endurance, and longevity. Okay, you don't want to take too much protein in your diet. And we know the tempeh is very delicious, right? Because tempeh has high protein. But you only want to take the tempeh before and after exercise. Okay, so you want to add protein before and after exercise. But other than that, if you don't exercise, you don't want to have the high tempeh in your diet. So you want to have the low protein for the rest of time when fatigue is recovered. So as long as you have the fatigue recovered, you don't need the high protein anymore. So you want to take the low protein. Okay, the sucrose and fructose are not the best carbohydrate source for post-exercise muscle glycogen recovery. So if you want to have the better muscle glycogen recovery, rice is very good. Okay, and you want to keep in mind the protein is required for the cell proliferation and growth. So if you are pregnant, then you need to have the normal protein diet. And if you have the acute disease that cause you have the body weight loss, you also need to have the high protein. Okay, but if you have the obesity means your growth rate are relatively higher, then you want to avoid the high protein because too much protein accelerates the aging. Aging also means your growth rate are relatively higher. Okay, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your patience.
Wow, so fast. What happened, Prof. Wo? Why today so fast?
Fast because I feel that is that fast? Really?
Yeah.
How much do I take?
Just only not yet 1 hour.
1 hour and 10 minutes. Okay,
No,
yeah, that's
just-
good. because I want to share more time for everybody for the
For question
question.
and answer.
Yes.
Wow, that's very excellent, Professor Kuo. And this is maybe new area for us and new about research insulin and glycogen, also for diabetics. And in here, I believe so many participants want to ask about this. And here have Dr. Hadiang from University of Diponegoro. You know him, right?
Hello.
Yes, hello, Prof. Kuo. Yeah,
Hi.
we have met several times. Yeah, thank you for
Okay.
your lecture
Good to
today.
see
It's
you.
very interesting. I think I have a lot of questions, but can I say it directly to you, or maybe I have to type it in the chat?
Thank you. You can speak. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, no
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Titin. Yeah, my first question is, I read in the manual of ELISA manual that we can use blood serum as a sample to measure the GLAD4 in the blood. In your according to your experience, can we truly measure it in the blood or in the serum? GLUT4. This is my first question. Yes, because usually normally inside the cells, not in the blood. But I have read many papers that can say that they can measure GLUT4, and also the kit also say that we can use blood serum as a sample.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good question. Okay. The GLUT4 protein not only expressed in the skeletal muscle, but also expressed in many areas. Okay. For example, the lymphocyte. Okay. The cell in the blood, there are many kinds of the cell, but the only cell express the GLUT4 protein is the lymphocyte. But as you know, that most of the cell in the blood are red blood cell, and the red blood cell does not express GLUT4.
Yes.
So if you really want to measure GLUT4, then you need to fractionate it blood. You want to have the flow cytometry to separate the lymphocyte from the red blood cell, and then you can measure the GLUT4.
Okay. Yes. So technique we have to separate the red blood cell and white blood cell, and we can measure it in the white blood cell sample, not in red blood cell. Okay.
Right.
Yes. My second question is, you said in the slide that increased protein will reduce the survival time and also increase the risk of mortality. So if we change the protein to whey protein, is the result is the same, Professor? Whey protein.
Whey protein. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Is the result is similar? Yeah.
This is very good question, because the whey protein, the difference between the whey protein and other protein is that the whey protein can be absorbed in your gastrointestinal tract relatively faster than other type of protein. Okay. And the reason that the whey protein is designed for sports is because if you challenge your muscle, then you want to get your dietary protein get into the blood as fast as possible. And that is the reason you want to take the whey protein. Okay, let's come back to the question. Is the whey protein good for the longevity? Yes. The answer is no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you take the whey protein 3 meals a day, it is going to increase your obesity. The abdominal obesity is going to be more serious.
Okay. Yeah,
Especially,
yeah.
especially when you are taking whey protein together with the high carbohydrate.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason is because the whey protein plus the high carbohydrate will stimulate more insulin release.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you exercise, then the situation is different.
Okay, so it's
Okay.
it's bad for sedentary group, not for athlete. No? So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my last question is, as I have learned that we differentiate the meal for athlete before competition, and 1 week before competition, and also during competition, during recovery, then after recovery. So it's still the same concept that we have to reduce protein during competition and also after recovery, or maybe you have a new formula for the athlete. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the ratio for protein to carbohydrate during competition is different from our normal diet. Yeah, this is very good question. So you want to differentiate the normal condition and during competition.
Yeah.
The during competition recommended protein to carbohydrate ratio is 1 to 3 or
1 to
1
3.
to 4. Okay. Right? You still have the high carbohydrate, but the ratio is 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. And both are showing very similar effect not only for glycogen recovery, but also for protein reservation.
So
Okay,
the
thank you.
ratio
Yeah.
is 1 is for protein and 4 is for carbohydrate?
Right. Actually, 1 to 4 and 1 to 5 is high protein diet.
During competition is also the same. We can use that ratio, or during competition we have to use only carbohydrate without protein or fat.
During competition, you need to have the protein. The reason is because during competition, the muscle cell, some of the muscle cell will be killed, right? So you have the cell death, right? So during recovery, you want to repopulate the cell population in your skeletal muscle, right? So in order to grow the cell back, you need to have the nucleic acid synthesis and the DNA synthesis. If you don't have the DNA synthesis, you cannot proliferate your cell. Okay. So that is the main reason you want to have the protein.
Yeah. So I think it's a new understanding, because usually we think that during competition we can only take the carbohydrate without protein or fat. Yeah, so I think the reason is very good, Professor. Yeah. I think we have to change the formula for athletes during competition. Thank you so much, Professor. Very clear answer. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes, good to see you again.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And Professor Pro, this is
Makasih.
also the same question from Dr. Nisa regarding the formula of carbohydrate and protein during competition. And how about during competition in the children 9 to 12 years old?
It's the same
with the adults?
Yes. Actually, the only difference between adolescents and adult is that the adolescents has relatively lower body weight and also relatively higher insulin sensitivity than adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dr. Nisa, you want to ask question? Is it clear, or you wanna ask question, please?
Maybe for now I just heard because it's partially has been explained when Dr. Hadian asked.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So it's very clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Kuo. You already answered 2 questions. And this is have a more question from Dr. Elmita Ilyas. He is the Chief of Indonesian Association Physiology.
Hello.
Dr. Elmita, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Amita. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And attend your very excellent lecture to this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's sorry, I can yeah, my video still closed. Yeah, sorry about that. But I would like to ask you about the diet. What is your opinion about the ketogenic diet for longevity?
Oh, ketogenic diet.
Yes, because
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
different with your explanation before.
Yes, yes. You are a medical doctor, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I remember you are a medical doctor.
yes.
So you care about longevity. Okay. And there are study on what is the effect of ketogenic diet on longevity that has been published before in the Cell Metabolism. I believe it's in 2019. And the data showed that the ketogenic diet, if you are a low protein condition, okay, if you are the low protein, so that means the protein is only about 10%, then you can have longer longevity. And that is the animal study. Okay, so ketogenic diet, as you know, is the high fat diet and low carbohydrate diet, right?
Yeah, high protein diet. Yeah.
No, it's not high protein, because the ketogenic
Some people,
diet.
some people take a high protein diet. They believe that is a ketogenic diet. Actually, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Right. And the reason that ketogenic diet cannot have the high protein is because if you eat a little bit protein, it will lower the ketone body in your blood. So that's why the ketogenic diet is what we call the low carbohydrate, high fat, and moderate protein diet. So if you have the ketogenic diet and you keep your protein low, then you can have relatively longer longevity. So the key is not the carbohydrate and it's not the fat, it's the protein.
Protein, okay.
Yes.
It's less than 10% and it's okay. Okay.
Right, yes.
Okay. That is same with your explanation before, but the people believe that should be higher than used to be the protein diet. It's the problem. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Elmita Ilyas. And next is Dr. Agus Budi. Monggo, Dr. Agus Budi.
Hello.
Now is your time to have question.
Is the sound okay?
Yes.
Yes,
Excellent.
From the mountain. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Titin. And hello, Professor Kuo.
Hi, Agus.
Hello. Still remember me?
Yes.
Okay. Direct to the question. According to the common belief, when we do strength training or resistance training to get hypertrophy, we have to take more protein, right? But I saw now that when we have more protein, then the benefit, the effect is, or it is not recommended. It is so, because leukocyte infiltration and removal of senescent cells and so on is better when people like myself, over 65 years old, do strength training. And the recommendation from your graphic is we have to lower the protein intake.
Okay, yeah.
My target is, during aging, my muscle should be bigger and stronger, so that I will look more attractive, somehow like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay, that's very good question. Okay.
Yeah.
You talk about the goal. If you are age 65 and the goal is to maintain muscle mass,
yes,
then before and after exercise, the recommendation is high protein,
high protein.
right? High protein. But the carbohydrate diet, okay, you need to have the high carbohydrate diet,
High
high
as well.
protein, right? What I mean the high protein means, according to the longevity study,
Yes.
if the total protein lower than 10% is called low protein, okay? And 10 to 20% is the normal protein diet. And above 20% of the energy in your diet is considered high protein that will promote growth. Okay, so
Yes.
what I mean the high protein is the protein that above 20% of the energy in your diet. So that is what we call the high protein. Okay, so my recommendation for someone at age 65 is you use 1:4 ratio or 1:3 ratio. 1 is the protein and the 3 and 4 is the carbohydrate ratio. Okay, and that is
gram per kilogram body weight or something like that. Can be.
Okay, if you want to talk about how much protein you are taking, then there's the documentation. That is about 2.5 grams.
Oh, 2.5 grams per kilogram body weight.
I'm sorry. For the young individual, before and after exercise, if you look at the protein synthesis rate, is actually, okay, let me show you the data. I have the data to show you if you have time. Okay, let me just stop sharing and I would like to show you. I remember you are the expert in stem cell, right?
Yeah, correct. Here is Dr.
Something
Agus
like that.
from Germany.
Yeah.
He's from Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember me.
Yeah. Okay, let me show you the protein synthesis right here. Okay, let me just give you, I cannot find the file, but I can give you the my memory that if your body weight is 86 kilogram, if you are young, okay, then the recommended, the experiment data is if you take 20 grams of the protein, 20 grams of the protein, if your body weight are 86 kilograms. But if you are age 70, then you want to take 40 kilogram.
Mhm.
40
double,
kilogram.
yeah.
Kilogram?
Right. And that will give you the highest protein synthesis rate.
Yes.
If you are over that, if you are taking higher dosage, it's not going to help for your protein synthesis. Okay. And that is a recommendation immediately after exercise. Okay. But you want to keep in mind that the protein for 40 kilogram, you probably need to take more carbohydrate than that in order to get the insulin secretion. And the insulin will inform your muscle to uptake not only glucose, but also stimulate the protein synthesis in the muscle.
Yeah, it is quite a problem now because it is in contradiction with the calorie restriction I am following. I have to reduce also the calorie. Therefore, my muscles now is not growing well. It means it is stagnation, right? It's not going to be bigger last time. I think because of the age, right? Themselves and so on. It's aging.
Yeah, okay. Because your age is 65. Okay, let me give you the recommendation. If you are age above 65, you don't want to do caloric restriction. And the reason is because there's a epidemiological study that show that if you are age below 65, your body weight are accumulating, right? Your body weight is accumulating until age 65.
Yeah, central.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have the high protein and high
Yeah,
nutrition, that is going to make your growth faster and you are aging faster. And that is the rationale behind that you want to have the caloric restriction.
Yes.
But after age 65, you are entering the time that the cell death is faster than cell regeneration. Okay, so the main concern is you don't want to have the weight loss. Okay, so you want to consider life has two different stages. The first stage is the weight gaining phase. So that is from age 0 to age 65. Okay, and during this weight increase stage, if you are promoting weight growth, it's going to have the faster aging. Okay, but when you reach the peak is about age 65, you start to have the weight loss, right? And if you have the weight loss faster than the normal condition, then you will die early. So you will never want to do caloric restriction after age 65.
Or intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting is another thing, right? You can do intermittent fasting, no problem.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And about the question from Dr. Hardian about the obesity, the central obesity. I read a paper last week that the timing is also determining the success of fat reduction, and that is different between female and male. In male, we have to train in the evening or at night so that the central obesity will reduce. And in female, it is quite the opposite.
Okay. Actually, if you look at most of the exercise literature, the consensus is if you really want to reduce your central obesity by exercise, you want to arrange your meal time around exercise.
Not at night.
No.
Yeah. For example, before dinner, you have exercise, or maybe after dinner if you can do it, right? And the reason is very simple. When exercise is challenged, you take the meal and those nutrients will get into the muscle instead of getting to adipose tissues. So the timing is indeed very important.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that you bring this topic now. The timing of the meal is very important.
Okay, that is good. So before exercise we eat, or after exercise we eat directly?
I think both study has been done in human. Okay.
For diabetic is also after the meal is recommended by the doctors.
Immediately after meal. You don't want to delay the meal. You don't want to delay the meal. Yeah.
Yes.
Can I continue Dr. Agus' questions?
Yes,
Dr.
sure.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Agus. Thank you so much. Long time we not meet yet. As we see in Japan, Japanese people always, maybe not always, but have a habit to do exercise before sleep in the night. So what do you think? But because in Japan, Japanese people, we know that have a long life than other country in the Asia. Thank you, Professor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Whether or not you want to exercise during the night. Okay. I don't have the literature to prove which one is better. But for my own experience, if I exercise during the night, I can sleep quite well. I don't have the data.
Yes.
Right.
But the important one, the intensity. If too high, you cannot sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. We have muscle aches.
Indeed. That's true. That is really depending on the individual, because I have seen the study for high intensity intermittent exercise.
Yes.
And they are a fraction of the people, they cannot sleep well if they do high intensity intermittent exercise in the evening.
Yes. May I have one question, Dr. Titu? More question?
Yes.
One more question?
Yes.
We know that the muscle type between the young people and elder people is different muscle type. So, and we correlate with that, the MAPK and also the PPAR, the enzyme that maintains the sensitivity to glucose, maybe it's different. So, can you explain the relation between the muscle types and also the calorie and the protein ratio in the young and elder people? Thank you, Professor. Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Okay. Yeah. The AMPK expression in the skeletal muscle are mainly in fast twitch. Okay. And as you are expert, you understand that the young people and the old people are different.
Yes.
Because when young people getting older and older, they are losing type 2B fiber, which is the fast twitch.
Yes.
So that means the total muscle is going to have relatively lower AMPK expression. So that is very interesting. I have never thought about this, but this reminds me that this might be the scenario.
Okay. Yes.
So the exercise-induced glucose. AMPK is important for contraction-stimulated glucose uptake. So I'm not sure whether, when people get older, the glucose uptake get lower, slower.
Yes.
So that, I think your point is probably important to explain in part about why when we get in older, the glucose uptake in the muscle get lower. Yeah, so that is very good direction of research. Yeah, thank you
so
for
much,
your
Professor.
question.
Yeah, Thank you so much, Professor. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Agus. The expert is Dr. Agus and Dr. Ermita. Dr. Nisa, I'm not the expert yet. Dr. Titin is the expert. Thank you so much, Professor. Very interesting and very useful for us. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, very clear explanation.
Well,
thank you.
Prof. Quo, the expert.
Yeah, of course, Prof.
He is the Suhu.
Because
Terima
Sifu. It's the Sifu.
he has a lot of research.
The
The
Sifu,
most
yeah.
important thing is, I think,
Yeah.
by exercise, the most important thing is when I read correctly that when we exercise, I think especially strength training is my favorite, right? And I show always to my colleagues here how big is my biceps muscles and so
Yeah,
on.
of course, Dr. Agus have to show the his muscle.
Bicep.
Yeah, we want to see. We want to see.
Yeah.
But
See
the
the
most
proof.
the most interesting thing is I recognize that my skin is becoming younger,
Wow.
Professor Quo, like a 20 years old boy, and my senile flex, senile flex, the black dots there disappears as well. So I
really?
think that, yes, really. I'm almost 70 in a few months later. Halo.
Oh ya, yuk. Batin masih di lapangan ngajar. Sorry.
Okay.
But I think the stem cells from my bone marrow is mobilized by exercise. And I hope it is true, right? But I cannot prove it because I don't have laboratory.
Well, you don't need to measure because this has been demonstrated before.
Demonstrated already, yes.
So you are correct.
Yes.
You are correct.
Thank you very much.
And Dr.
My
Agus,
memory is still working, right?
yeah, still working
Yes.
good.
Very good.
And Dr. Agus, Professor
you.
Quo is the
Very,
proof
very
that
nice
he's
to
still
follow.
young, even though he's already old, I think. But she looks still young, right? Professor
Yes.
Quo is the present of demonstrate of his research.
Strength training. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have to, the Prof has to change the recipe to be youth, to be young forever.
Yeah. We
Dr.
can
Hadian
exercise
need the-
together when I go to Samara.
Oh,
We can do
okay,
weight
Professor.
training together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Yuswa, Dr. Yuswa, hello.
Dr. Titin, better you invite him to Semarang again, and then we will go to Semarang together.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hope so. I hope so.
To learn-
Next
to
will
learn
be
how-
come to Semarang, Professor
Yeah.
Quo.
How to train the body.
Yeah.
And maybe also IV Indonesia will become to Semarang.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yes.
And Professor Quo, actually,
Dr. May I ask
Hello.
something?
yes.
Yes, please.
Mr. Titin,
who-
could I ask something?
Yes.
Could I ask questions? Sorry.
Yes, please. May I know your name, please? I can
Dr.
see your
Nisa.
face.
Dr. Nisa.
Dr. Nisa, Dr.
Mana
Nisa.
Dr.
Sorry,
Nisa?
I couldn't ask because there's a crowd here. And
Yes, please.
I try to hear. Prof. Po, I heard that you explain few formulas only with ratio carbohydrate and protein, but you don't talk about others, just like lipid or many specific mineral or micronutrient or trace element maybe. And then I want to ask about protein, kind of protein. I see there's many people use specific protein only in diet, just like creatinine. How about your how could you explain how effectivity of the only specific protein for diet for optimizing exercise? It is right or not? Or we should to take balanced protein, or we could only take this specific protein only to optimize our exercise. That's Prof.
Yes, thank you for your question. And this is actually a very good question for research. Okay, what kind of the protein is the best for your exercise recovery or muscle building and the longevity. So my knowledge in this area is very limited, but I do know some of the literature that, for example, the methionine, you know, almost every protein has the methionine, right? So if you pick up the low methionine diet, so if you're feeding yourself with low methionine, then even you have the increased appetite, the longevity will get longer. You can live longer for longer period. And that has been demonstrated in animal study many times. So the low methionine diet can improve the longevity. But the problem is, if you have the low methionine diet, the young animal also grows slowly. So you understand the growth is also representing that you are aging slowly. So it really depending on your philosophy. If you want to have the small body weight, then low methionine. If you want to have the higher body weight, you want to have the normal methionine. And on the other hand, the BCAA diet has also been demonstrated they will accelerate aging. Okay, so if you have the high BCAA, then you grow faster. Okay, and the animal study indicate that BCAA will shorten the lifespan.
BCAA.
So that is, yeah, BCAA.
BCAA.
But there's 20
Brain chain
different
amino
amino
acid.
acids, right? There are 20 different amino acids. So it's very difficult for me to answer the question for each individual question. And that gives us very good opportunity to expand the knowledge by research.
Okay, is it good also for the children to using that during exercise?
It depending on whether you like your children to age faster
Thank you, Prof.
or not.
Yeah, faster, I hope so.
But in
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Titin. Thank you, Prof. Ku.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you,
But
Dr.
in-
Lisa. Yeah, please,
in-
Dr. Agus. Wow.
in every
That's a good-
textbook, it is still branched chain amino acid recommended for the growth of the muscle, for the bodybuilders and so on. And another problem is the red meat will reduce our life expectancy as well. What kind of it is?
Okay. For
Chicken egg
observational
only, or
study,
it is protein powders like whey protein and so on recommended
okay.
or better?
The only data right now, the only available data right now, there are two kinds of data. One is observational study, which is not randomized study, and that has been done in United States. Okay. If you are the age before 65, the high protein has relatively higher mortality rate. Okay, but after age 65, high protein lowers the mortality rate.
Yeah. Therefore, my dogs got a lot of protein now.
After age
they become
66.
younger now.
Be careful, Dr.
Okay.
Be careful, Dr. Agus.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
therefore
but for the
I asked
randomized
expert.
study, there's no human randomized study. But for animal study, are very similar to the human study.
In doggies, right? Yeah.
In rats and
In rats.
mice. Yeah, rat and mice. If you give the high protein, then the longevity will be shortened. Shortened, yes. So you don't want to have the high protein.
Because it is not built in the muscle, I think.
Well, my interpretation is that,
yes,
and my recommendation is that you want to avoid high protein before age 65. but you want to have the high protein when there's a weight loss condition occur in your lifetime.
Yes.
Also related to the problem is in the kidney, yeah?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Yes.
Dr. Amita, you are a medical
The
doctor.
limitation is the kidney. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
for
it is
this
okay,
kind of,
then it is okay.
if you have enough insulin secretion, okay, the reason that you have the high protein diet is bad for your kidney in diabetes patient is because amino acid in the blood will cause the burden for kidney. The kidney will continuously recycle the amino acid in the blood for 24 hours. And therefore, you get in the kidney failure if you have that kind of condition for months, right? But if you have the insulin injection, the insulin will stimulate the muscle to uptake amino acid. If you, assuming you have a good insulin sensitivity, then you don't have the problem. So I will recommend if someone who are aged after 65, and if they have the weight loss, then not only high protein, you want to have the insulin injection as well to maintain the body weight.
Okay. Oh, very interesting. Any more question? Oh, this is have one more question. But before that, Professor Kuo, regarding your information about the time for exercise, actually now I have an ongoing study about to lose the weight, but for women, it's between 20 to 65, and all is obesity. Do you have any recommendation for the exercise for that? The time, actually the time now at evening, so at 4 p.m. Is it can be reduced the, do you think will be reduced the body weight or something?
Will you be able to measure abdominal fat?
Yes, abdominal fat, we measure about that. Also the blood parameters, we use that.
Okay, will you be able to do DEXA?
This is, we don't have about the DEXA.
Okay, maybe you can collaborate with Dr. Amita.
Yes.
We may
We
have
have
the DEXA in the
In
hospital,
our laboratory,
right?
we have DEXA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Hadian have also.
Yes.
Okay.
If you have the DEXA, and then you collaborate with the expert here, I think you can publish the paper together.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yes.
Hadian.
And my
Thank you,
recommendation for your intervention is the high intensity intermittent exercise.
Yes.
Compare with the moderate intensity intermittent exercise. So you need to have two groups.
Yeah.
One is HIIT, another one is moderate, but you want to consume the same calorie, same amount of calorie. Okay, so if you have the same amount of the calorie consumed, then you can compare which one is better for losing your
weight,
your body fat and increase the muscle. So if you can collaborate with the expert here, if they have the DEXA, you measure before at the baseline, and you measure for, let's say, 3 months later. Okay, then you can do two things. One is for the young people, and for the people above 50.
50, yeah, for the DEXA.
Right. Right, and then you can see whether both age group showing the same response.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you, Professor Kuo. And this is one question from Dr. Siti Baitul Mokaromah. Yeah, he's asking about also the budget and eating gluten. So Dr. Siti, you want asking directly?
Where is City?
Yes, I am lost. I'm sorry, I have a meeting, so I'm already right in the chat room because already in the room.
My best friend. City is my best friend.
Yes, thank you, Losa.
Really nice to see you. You came back from Macau, right?
Yes, right. Just
Yeah,
arrived.
you enjoy.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you,
good.
Losa. Losa, I have question about the diet of gluten. Maybe this is safe for us during exercise.
Dietary protein. Actually, my recommendation is before and after exercise, you can have tempeh.
Oh.
I remember the first time I have the tempeh is because of you. And I think the tempeh is very good because the tempeh are fermented, and therefore you can have the amino acid and protein to be much easier to be digested.
Okay.
Right.
So okay, thank you,
Before,
Losa.
after exercise. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe if you have free time, we can invite you to visit in Indonesia again, and we can collaborate visit with Bu Ermita, Dr. Agus. So very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Losa.
so much.
You're
But the
welcome.
tempeh, not fried tempeh, yeah?
Tempeh.
No, only tempeh.
No,
Tempeh.
no fried, no fried.
No fried.
Just the raw
without oil
tempeh.
is okay.
Raw tempeh. You mean is raw tempeh?
We need to listen to Dr. Amita. She's the expert.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Siti. And
Can I have one more question?
yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Titin. Yeah, Prof. Po. So that you just mentioned about the HIIT, high intensity interval training. So for elderly, do we need to add some iron or maybe some another protein like levulinic acid, for example? Yeah. Thank you, Professor.
What amino acid?
Levulinic.
Exercise physiology.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I don't really know. You mean the protein that help for the water
for muscle.
retention?
Yeah.
For the muscle. I don't know.
Or maybe
iron.
We
can do.
Yeah, or iron maybe.
Iron. Okay.
Yeah. Do we need to add it for give supplement for the elder for iron? Do that do high in that do HIIT? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a very good question for future research because the material you talk about is very important for the water retention, not only for the blood but also for the muscle. And you know the muscle has a lot of water, right? The muscle mass. You want to maintain protein there. You also need to have the water, and I think the exercise also so very important topic. I have never thought about this, but maybe we can collaborate on this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Professor. Yeah, of course maybe we have to do that in the future.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, with Dr. Ermita, Dr. Titin, and with all experts here. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Titin. Thank you, Prof.
I have one question. Can I have one question?
Oh yeah, have Dr. Amita and Dr. Agus. Okay, please.
Okay, thank you, Bu Titin. Actually, from long time ago, many people give a carbohydrate loading for the endurance athletes, and then many methods for this. Do you have experience with that, Prof. Kuo? Which one?
Yes,
better?
yes, actually, yeah. They are very ancient protocol is conducted by a Scandinavian, and then it was much improved by a person called Sherman. Okay, Sherman, SHERMAN, in
Sherman.
in the in Ohio State University.
Hmm?
And actually, Dr. Sherman graduated from the same lab as I have working together.
Oh,
So he is the first PhD. I'm the seventh PhD of the John Ivy. So we both came from the same lab, and he has revised the glycogen supercompensation protocol. The old glycogen supercompensation protocol are using very low carbohydrate for the first 3 days, and then very high carbohydrate for the next 3 days before performance test. Okay, and that kind of the diet cannot be used for normal people because especially when they use the low carbohydrate diet, there are many athletes, they have the diarrhea. So and then the Michael Sherman, he revised the protocol. What is very, very easy. The first 3 days, just normal diet. And the before competition, another 3 days, get high carbohydrate to 70% of the diet in energy.
Yeah. Okay. That's the new one, the new protocol
Yes.
now. Yes. Okay.
Actually, the new protocol since 1980, and now everybody's follow this protocol.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thank you, Dr. Armita. Now, Dr. Agus, now is your time.
Titin, I may need to leave
Okay.
early because
Okay.
I have another schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe next one question. Yes.
One question, yeah, Dr. Agus. Please unmute yourself. Okay.
Hello. It's okay.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Yeah. What do you think theoretically when someone is doing strength training or resistance training, he is taking also senolytics like quercetin, fisetin, and so on? Maybe there is no data about that, but what is your opinion about that?
Yeah, this is a very advanced topic because senolytic is very hot topic right now, and
Yes,
it's the hope, right?
Yes.
If you have the senolytic, that also means it can kill yourself, especially for the senescent cell, right? Senolytic means you are killing the senescent cell, right? Right. So when you are killing the senescent cell, and that also causes inflammation. Okay. But the goal is you want to shorten the time of the inflammation. Right. Inflammation. Because inflammation is the program for repopulating the cell in the tissues.
Yes.
Okay.
That is also important.
Right. So when you have this, right. So when you have the senolytic agent and that effectively kill the cell in your body, then you want to replenish the cell.
The zombie
cell regeneration, you need to have the high protein.
Okay.
Because the protein provides a nitrogen source for the cell proliferation.
How many eggs I should take? Do you mean? Eggs.
For you,
chicken
you can, if you are age 65,
70.
70,
almost.
Okay, 70, then 40 grams of the protein if your body weight are 86.
86, yeah. So I have
but
to,
you can scale down if your body
yes.
weight are lower.
Yeah, thank you. I have to calculate. Thank you very much, Professor.
Okay.
After
Thank you, Dr. Agus.
Dr. Agus is 70, going 20. Yeah.
Yeah, 20.
You look very young.
I am. Can I show my biceps?
Yes.
So
Okay. Thank
It
you
must
very
be-
much, Dr. Agus.
I like it is bigger, you know. by 12 grams of dumbbell.
And also the skin,
Kilogram.
the skin.
Oh, the skin.
Yes.
The skin.
Oh,
Oh, the
wow.
skin. Can I show that? But you
No, no,
cannot
no, no.
feel. Just kidding, Alicia.
Okay.
Makes us happy.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you.
Professor Kuo, is it finished or this is still
Yes,
have
yes.
one question from
Yeah.
Hamid?
Finish, please. Yes, I
Finish.
need to leave.
Okay. I'm sorry, Dr. Hamid from Pakistan, but maybe you can ask him directly to email Professor Kuo.
Yes,
Is it
yes.
okay? And thank you very much. Very excellent presentation and also excellent discussion. And I hope exercise physiology in Indonesia is more success, and also Professor,
Amin.
we can following the
Amin.
Professor Kuo research. And
Amin.
you are the Sifu in here, so mentor in
Sifu,
here,
yes.
so
Sifu, yeah.
yeah, Sifu. I hope one day you will
Wah,
come
Sifu.
to Indonesia and also make collaboration research, and also can doing something to make exercise physiology in Indonesia more success.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you very much,
Amin.
friends.
Before we close the program, please open your camera and we are take a picture together for report. Okay, please open your camera and give your sweet smile, big smile.
Maaf ya, saya nggak bisa.
Anjir, betul nopo-nopo.
Bu Ermita.
Terima kasih.
Okay. One more. Arsan, cheese. Oh,
Nanti
I don't
pikirin
know.
ya.
The others.
Also give you smile.
Okay.
Buka
Please
itu
give
masih
us
bawa
smile.
malaikat, Bu. Masih ada
Ya.
40 malaikat.
Amin.
Amin.
Bismillah.
Terbelakangnya bagus sama ya.
Ya.
Dokter Agus itu jarinya yang kelihatan. Nah.
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Okay. And the certificate, wait. Why cannot open in here the certificate? Okay. Well, I will. I try to open the certificate share, but I cannot share in here what happened with my laptop. But Maria, you still in here? You are already back home? Okay, Maria already back home. I'm sorry. Okay, all is done. Professor Tan Setia Rahayu, now you can have closing to close the program.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much to Prof. Kuo for your nice and excellent presentation and discussion. Thank you to
Thank you, Prof. Kuo.
Thank you to
Thank you,
all
Dr.
participants.
Titin.
See you in next time.
Our colleague from Undi, from Unila, from EIV.
See you soon.
Terima kasih Bu. Thank you, thank you.
Ya, Dr. Hadi and Dr. Nisa,
Thank you.
Ermita,
Thank you, Prof.
Dr. Agus,
Thank you,
Beltasar, Dr.
Rahayu.
Rifki, Dr. Hamid from Iraq, Bu Baitul, Bu Nugrahiningsih, dan yang lainnya, semuanya.
Iya, semuanya.
Thank you
Terima
for
kasih.
all. Ya. Thank you, Bu Titin. Ya. For closing, certificate appreciation for Prof. Kuo, and certificate for all participants will send to email. Okay. Thank you for all of you, and see you next time. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Bu Prof.
Terima kasih Prof. Thank you so much Prof.
Bu
Ya.
Titin.
kasih,
Terima
Bu
kasih.
Setio, Bu
Dr. Titin,
Titin.
Dr. Agus.
Thank you very much.
And
Terima
Thank you very
kasih
much.
Dokter Ermita,
Dr.
Dr.
Ermita.
Ardian.
Sampai ketemu
Dr.
Dokter
Ya.
Agus, Dokter
Agus.
Ardian,
Nah,
Dokter
Nanti yang lain,
Nisa,
lagi ya.
yang
Bu
lain
Sehat
Baitul.
selalu
yang
ya.
Tadi ada
six
Bu
pack-nya
Yanti dari
ditampilkan Dr.
Manado.
Agus.
Olahraga.
Lain kali yang six packs-nya ditampilkan.
Oh iya,
Ya.
Dokter
Ya, Dr.
Agus mungkin
Nisa.
perlu
Ya.
tampil ini.
Dr. Nisa juga pulang dari Mekah ya katanya ya, Dr. Nisa ya.
Prof Rahayu, malu saya.
Sehat-sehat semua, sehat-sehat.
Waduh, semangat
Amin.
teman
Wah,
Nisa.
ya, ayo.
Mohon izin lah.
Iya, God bless, God
See you
bless.
God
later.
bless ya, terima kasih ya.
Terima kasih banyak. Terima kasih.